I don't know if you guys have seen this short before. It's called The Worm, and it's really, really good. It's directed by Andy Coyle, the same director, I think, who did the Hilda series. It's just a fun, kind of retro horror kind of vibe. But anyways, I really, really loved it, and I wanted to break down a few of my favorite shots from the short. So if I'm not mistaken, all of the character animation was done using cutout rigs, which is super, super impressive, because it doesn't feel cut out at all. Like, take a look at her hand here. That little cycling movement, I'm pretty sure it was a drawing swap, and they swapped through the drawings, but it looks so fluid. I also love when she reaches for her, like, wrench tool. She doesn't just move her arm. Her whole body tilts up as she reaches. We get a nice angle change on the head. So those kinds of small movements really make that action believable. So I'm not 100% sure, but I feel this angle of the head did not come stock in the rig. So I feel the animators definitely had to adjust the pieces themselves a little bit to get this special angle. Right, now this action, right, it's pretty straightforward, just cycling of the arms. But watch what they do with the face. As she's fixing the car, they have a slight expression change on the face, and that kind of just breaks up that boring movement and keeps that character alive. Really, really good acting choice there. Right, so in this scene, the radio's kind of making some noise, and it startles our character, and then she goes to see what's going on. Another great example of getting some great character acting without a lot of character movement. So she hears the sound, we're stretching the face up to kind of get that change of expression. Just her face, right? Her body is actually very still. And what really sells it are those pupil movements. Let's zoom in. Just one frame, we move the pupils over. These little eye darts really make it look like she's thinking, what could that noise be? It really helps to build that tension. And then, of course, we have a tiny anticipation, and she finally moves. Right, so there were like 3 steps before the actual movement, really making the audience believe that, hey, this is a thinking character. Right, so here she's digging through her phone, right, to see what's going on. Right, what I loved about this is this phone is probably, I'm guessing, a separate prop that they had to draw. And the way it's changing angles, it's very hard to tell where that switch happens. Let's zoom in on the phone. Right, so here we're clearly seeing this edge, and then in the next frame right away, we flip that perspective. And why does that work? It's because there's such a strong ease out and ease into the next pose. So we ease out really hard here, right? The phone is barely moving. And then on the biggest movement, we pop into that pose, and there's a nice ease in to cushion that movement. So when you're dealing with a prop in cutout animation, you want to make the swap during the fastest part of the action, so when there's the most movement. So here to here, it hides it very well. So I'm guessing things like the lights and the reflection in the eyes, and even this light on the phone, that was probably added after in comp. When you're doing the animation, you don't really see these lights. You just kind of have to picture what it looks like, and then in the final product, when it goes to compositing, they add all the extra things to bring it alive. So that's why it's really easy to work on a show, and then even when you're watching this show at the end, you're like, wow, it looks completely different than what I was seeing when I was working on it. Short does such a good job of building that tension, but not losing the interest of the audience. So this car, I think, was a 3D model. I've worked with 3D models before. Sometimes we use it just right as it is. Sometimes we use it to trace over the movement. But yeah, it's pretty common to see this kind of stuff being used even in 2D productions. Right? I love this head turn so much, right? There's so much anticipation even before the actual turn. The head moves up, and then the eyes follow after. They're delayed. And we have that same little eye dart that we had at the beginning to kind of make it look like our character's contemplating something in their head. So the eyes look as we turn. Remember, this is rigged, so this tweens pretty well, and then we pop. We flip the character head here. And then we cushion that action so it kind of hides that flip. Right, and if we track these eyebrows, you're going to see it's kind of a nice curved path. Right, it looks really nice. Close-ups are pretty fun to do as well with rigs. You can really kind of push the expressions and have a lot of fun. I'm pretty sure Like these lines on the face, either they were added to the rig after, or there were like layers you could turn on and off. But look at the difference it makes when you add those lines. She's really straining and squinting her eyes. If we just took those away, it wouldn't really have that same impact. Especially for close-ups, sometimes it's a good idea to add parts to your character rig to kind of plus those expressions. This is pretty simple, dude. It's probably just a couple drawings that move with the eyebrows, and it looks great. Look at the change of expression here. We go real squashed to super stretch, and they even shrink the pupils, which is good. I wonder if they put a deformer on the mouth, or they drew different drawing substitutions. The way it transitions, I'm thinking maybe they did a deformer, or maybe a combination of both. I think this is probably the most impressive shot in the entire short. I'm not sure how they did this. I'm guessing they still used the rig. It could have been hand-drawn, but if they used a rig, this is so hard to do. Normally, rigs don't tween that well all views, right? There's pieces popping in and out of Z depth. Things are flying all over the place. Usually, you do a quick turn to hide those imperfections, but here, we are seeing every angle of this character. Of course, the smoke helps hide some things, but we're still taking a pretty good look at her face. So if this was done with a rig, that is super, super impressive. Those are a few of my favorite shots from The Worm. So I really love the acting choices they made. Characters all felt really alive. It didn't feel cut out at all. All the effects animation, like the smoke and the mist, was also really well done. And it just added overall to that horror vibe. So let me know if you guys have seen this short, and post in the comments your favorite 2D animated short. Guys, till next time, thanks.